Welcome to yet another episode of Life Insights. I'm Rita Nabawes, your host for today. And today I want us to look at a very interesting but challenging topic, something you've probably not paid attention to. And interestingly, I got this conversation from my dad when he woke up and switched on the lights, then went to the TV and told me, do you know that from the time I left my bed, I've been paying someone? And I'm like, what do you mean? And he told me, every morning we wake up and switch on these lights, we are paying someone for that. When we switch on the TV, we are paying someone for that. And that's when I realized that we actually pay for everything, almost everything we use in our lives. When you hold your toothbrush, someone got paid for that. When you take a bath, someone got paid for the water, or probably for the shampoo, or probably for the soap. So you're literally paying people all through your life. And it's a very challenging thing. Because every time you pay for something, I think the most interesting question you should ask yourself is there someone else paying for my idea as well? Because interestingly, people can earn from a single idea all their lives. There's a certain type of pen we basically use in Africa, and I think many of us have been paying for that person's idea all our lives because we write and write continuously. And you've had people say, that was my song. I simply shared it with a certain producer. And the next thing they hear is the song is on air and it's not them singing, it's someone else taking the credit for it. Or you've had people say, that was my proposal. Probably they've watched a TV show and they're like, that was my proposal. I shared it with a producer. The next thing I heard, someone else was on air, airing my very own idea. So people can earn from a single idea all the time. And because ideas can earn, it means ideas can be stolen. Sometimes they are not stolen. Sometimes we've not given them as much importance as we should. And when we share them with other people, they actually find them more capable than we found them. So what happens is they devise all means of getting them from us. But the important thing is to know that if I'm paying for almost everything I'm using, then at least someone out there should pay for something that is from me. Someone should also pay me, just like I'm paying everyone else for these things. And every time you ask yourself that and realize that probably no one is paying for a single idea of yours, the question is there something different that the people I'm paying have done that I've not yet done? And the answer is yes. Because trust me, most of the books we read, I already say most of the books we read, realize they have no new ideas, no new words. It's not something that is brought from the blue and it has just fallen on you. It is something you've heard of, something you've thought of, probably something you've experienced, because if you were to talk to most of these authors, they are simply sharing what they've learned from other people, what they've gone through themselves, but they've not played any magic trick to come up with all those words. So what am I trying to say? Is that in many cases, we are paying for something that could have probably been our own. But the question is, what did this author do different? The author knew that this is a thought that has hit me. This is an experience that has hit me. And probably this is something I want to share. They knew they wanted to share, but they were not sure how the world will receive whatever they are sharing. So they knew one thing. There's a possibility of it being rejected or it being accepted. After all, I already said the worst they can say is no, but they don't take away who you are. So what these authors did, or what these singers we look up to did, what these producers did, what these TV hosts did is that when they perceived something or when they got hold of something, they decided to share it with the world and accepted any consequence. In short, they decided to be attributed to their own ideas. Whichever reaction it will be, it's okay for them to say that it's me who came up with this. Whichever reaction you have from this show, it's okay. I accepted to say that Rita said this. So sometimes it's not about how the world will receive it, because you have no control over that. But when you accept that it's okay for people to say that this came from me, then it means you've accepted to be identified with your own ideas. And that marks the difference. That's the difference between you, who goes ahead and express, and people get to know that it was you who did this, so you take the credit for it. And it differentiates you from the person who literally thought about it, who literally talked about it. Let me give you a very interesting example. In my country, Uganda, we have very good sports commentators. If you listen to these guys, they can tell you, because the player so and so is in this and this condition, I think this team is at a disadvantage. There is a possibility that this team will score a number of goals against this team. People review sports before the game is played, and indeed when the game is played, the results are not very different from their expectations. But do we have the very best teams in Africa? The answer is no. So there is a difference between a creator of something. There's a difference between the theoretical view of something and you deciding to take a step and say that, yes, if this goes wrong or right, it's okay for people to say that it is me who did this. Because honestly, every time I listen to those guys, I'm like, we should have the best team in Uganda. What is not happening? But because probably those who have the best knowledge about it are people that can't even come out to play the game. So what am I trying to say? Is that it's one thing for you to conceive something so good, to have the best analytical skills about something, to have the best editing skills, to have the best imagination you can ever think of. And another thing for you to say that it's okay for the world to know that it is me who came up with this and I've accepted to be identified with it, whatever the consequences or whatever the results. So that's the only different thing that the people we pay for different services did. And it goes back to you to start now, because trust me, ideas get expired to their bearers, but not to the expressors. Every time you perceive something and keep it to yourself, with time, it begins to feel like it's no longer as practicable as it was the time you conceived it. Yet when you share it to the other person, because it is still new to them, they'll feel it, they'll receive it with the same vigor you had when you were conceiving it in the first place. So what will they do? Now, as you are losing interest in it, as it's becoming less applicable to you, someone else is receiving it with the same energy you had in the start. So the different thing they do is they choose to start at that very moment. So when they start, the next thing you know, it is actually working for them. And that's when you sit back and you're like, that could have been me. So the question I want you to pose to yourself every morning when you wake up, strive for someone to pay for something that came from you. And there's nothing as beautiful as you not having to be somewhere and yet you're earning. People earn even when they are not at work because they put up something, they owned it, and they accepted that whatever the reaction will be from the public, this is me, this is what I've come up with. And there's nothing as beautiful as an achievement, as a satisfaction that comes from you accepting to be identified with your own ideas. That is something very simple I had for you today, and it goes back to you to check yourself and decide that it's okay for people to identify with who I am and what I can come up with. It's your idea after all. It's okay for you to be identified with it. Thank you so much. God bless. Till next time, it's Life Insights.